you got to think about something. I am so tired of the typical insurance IMO bull. I am. I'm tired of it. I've seen it. I lived it. Got new agents coming on board all the time. And, they ask me about it, and I'm like, I'm always embarrassed to tell them what I used to do, because I've seen we left an IMO, and I'm not going to mention names. I'm just going to tell you, I seen the good and the bad. And a lot of times it's a lot more bad than I saw good. There's a reason. See, last year, I did really well last year. Better I ever made more money in my life than last year selling life insurance. Sold $100,000 in 10 weeks on my own pen. Just selling, and loved it. Loved what I was doing. I could have kept on as the vice president of the company and had a team rocking and rolling. We were known as the rock stars. Figures that, right? And like a little bit of rock music. And we were known as the rock stars of my team. And went on that cruise. We'd won a cruise. My wife and I never won a cruise. Never won nothing in our life. That we were top 1% of the country, of the company. They said, hey, go to the Bahamas. I said, sweet, let's go, right, baby? And she took off school. We went to the Bahamas. Now, you would think you all go on a company trip, and you're going to come back and you'll be so fired up, you would run through a wall for that company. And that didn't happen. I went on that trip, and I began to see the things I didn't like. And I heard about things I didn't want to tell my agents. And I wasn't ready to do that. And that's when we started to think about the direction that we're headed today.
He was the son of hardtack, sired by the mighty Man-O-War, but the breeding did little to impress anyone at Claiborne Farms.
Get rid of him.
At 6 months, he was shipped off to train with the legendary trainer Sonny Fitzsimmons, who, over time, developed a similar opinion of the colt.
Is that a racehorse or a lead pony?
The judgment wasn't helped by his gentle nature. Where his sire had been a fierce, almost violent competitor, Seabiscuit took to sleeping for huge chunks of the day and enjoyed lolling for hours under the boughs of the juniper trees. His other great talent was eating. Though half the size of other colts, Seabiscuit could frequently eat twice as much. Fitzsimmons decided the horse was lazy and felt sure he could train the obstinance out of him.
I want you to hit him as many times as you can over a quarter of a mile.
When he didn't improve, they decided the colt was incorrigible. They made him a training partner to better horses, forcing him to lose head-to-head duels to boost the confidence of the other animal. By the time he was 3 years old, Seabiscuit was struggling in 2 cheap claiming races a week. And soon he grew as bitter and angry as his sire Hardtack had been. He was sold for the rock-bottom price of $2,000. And of course, it all made sense. Champions were large. They were sleek. They were without imperfection. When they finally did race him, he did just what they had trained him to do. He lost.
The story really resonates with me. I as a history teacher, I showed this story every year, and we getting to talk about the Great Depression. And see, during that time, the Great Depression was going on, America was looking for something they can grab hold of, something that gets them hope, and something they can believe in. And it came in the form of a little horse. See, this horse, Seabiscuit, everyone said he was too small. He was a lot smaller than all the other horses. He said that his trainer was his jockey was too big. His trainer was too old, and his owner was washed up. There was no reason this horse should have ever accounted for anything. As a matter of fact, to the point that Seabiscuit, they started training him to lose. He would run with the big horses right to the end, and they would pull back so that the other horses could find out what it was like to win it. How many of you guys ever feel like Biscuit sometimes? You feel like everyone around you is winning. We got Daniel doing $10,000 a week, and $15,000, and Trish and Boggy on the park with $20,000 a week, and JP's killing it. And I'm on those odd dials, and all I'm doing is $100 here and there, right? And I'm like, what am I doing? Or whenever I do make sales, sometimes you feel like in this industry that you're just making money for your boss. It's not for me. He just wants me to work for him. He can make money from me. I've heard that. Well, that's not true. We want you to be successful. We want you to make it for you. But you feel that way sometimes. I know, how many of you have ever felt like that? You felt like maybe you're Biscuit, right? That you just don't, it's like everyone around me is winning, but what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? Maybe it's your mindset. Maybe we've been beat down so much in our lifetime that it's hard. I remember when I first got into life insurance, I was the teacher and I was the wrestling coach. And at the time, I was the principal because I went through and I got my master's degree and I was the principal at a school. I did that about 5 years. I still coach, but I was principal. And I can remember going to church on a Sunday morning, and we had the teen challenge come to our church that day. And I looked at my wife, and I kind of poked her onto the side and said, baby, write him a check for $100. Felt good about myself, right? And she leaned over to me and she said, Darren, we don't get paid till Friday. I was the principal in a school. I did make pretty good money, you would think, right? Well, in reality, in Oklahoma they don't, but still, then there was always more month at the end than there was money, right? We ran out of money for around a month, and this was one of those weeks. We didn't have no money, and she had him $100 to give to the ministry, and it just went all over me. Like oh my God! I've been teaching for over 20 years now, and I don't have $100 to give to the ministry when I wanted to. Something's wrong with that picture, and I prayed about it that night. I said, God, something's got to give. I'm not getting any younger. Something's got to give in my life. The next day, guess what? I get my phone out and I see this ad come across my phone on one of these Indeed ads or something. I don't even know what it was, and it said, earn $40,000 part-time selling life insurance. I'm like, what? Oh, I'd only need like $25,000 to get out of this. I called the guy in North Carolina. I called him up. And he said, yeah, go get your license. I'm like, what do I do? How do I do that, right? He sent me a course, and I studied for my insurance license. What do you do, right? And I did it. I studied it. I went past it first to go around, so I'm like, okay, I got a license now. What am I going to do? And so he sent me a course online. This is what's really crazy, right? This is how if you want it bad enough, nothing should be able to stop you. Everything I've ever done in my life, if I do it, I go all in. I don't just do anything halfway, if you had my wife alluded to, and this is the truth about me. So I remember he sent me a video, and I watched that video, or where I can download it on our computer. And I watched this video, and I watched it, and it was in-home sales, how to go in-home, because everything was in-home then. Paper applications, no, we didn't have this either electronic application, paper app, right? And it was in-home. And I watched it, I guarantee you, at least 20 times. And my wife finally walks into the living room, or into the kitchen, from the living room, and she says, honey, she said, I can tell you every word in that video. She said, I can do that presentation. She said, go to work. And I needed that. I love my wife because she has kicked me in the butt so many times whenever I feel bad about things. And so I said, you're right. So what did I do? I called my son-in-law and my daughter, and I said, baby, I'm going to come over and I got to present something to you. And I said, I got to practice because tomorrow I'd set up some appointments. I said, tomorrow I'm going to go to these homes and I need practice. They said, come on over. So I go over their house, and I think I did a pretty good job selling because at the end of it, he says, I'm going to do that. I said, you're going to do what? He said, I'm going to do what you just did. I'm like, no, you're not. You're too young, and it's not for you. He says, his name's Landon, and he said, well, I can either do it for you or I'll go find somebody, but I'm going to do it. And I'm like, no, you can do it for me. And we worked together, and I had a sidekick. If I give anybody any advice in this business, is find you a partner, find you a person to work with, because there's nothing better than making money, but making money with friends, right? And having someone to run with and to work with, and that's always good. If you don't have somebody, find you a mentor, and you got to work together because it's important to have somebody to work with you. So that was how I got started in life insurance, right there. And I didn't have somebody, a mentor, living here. My guy was in North Carolina, and he was very little help. But did I let it stop me? Heck no. I just said, I'm going to figure this thing out. I'm going to do it. You think about what we got today, what Stephen and that we've created with the VCC. Oh my God. And can you imagine, had I had something like that 7 or 8 years ago? When you started, what would that have done for you and your mindset if you had all the resources that we have?
I think it'd be game changer. I mean, we had one conference call a week, listen to it, and run around and make mistakes.
Oh my God, you do. We had set our agents up to succeed over here. And it's better than anything I've ever seen. But it's all because you put the agents first, and we got to figure out how to make them successful in this business. So go back to Biscuit. Nobody believed in him. But what happened? One day, Seabiscuit started winning. He won a race. The guy held over. He got him in a contest, and what happened? The new owner bought him, and the new trainer got him, and then finally they said, "Well, let's race him to win. Let's just see what happens." And they started believing in him. Right? He had the support staff, and now he won his first race, and that's all it took for Seabiscuit. Because guess what he did? He realized this is funner. It's better to win than to lose. Right? It's a lot more fun winning than it is losing. I used to tell my wrestlers all the time that you got to hate losing more than you love winning. Think about that for a second. You've got to hate losing more than you love winning. And because, I'm telling this, because if you really hate losing bad enough, what are you going to do? You're going to fix it. You're going to find out, what did I do wrong, and how can I get better at it? But if you just love winning, you know what you wind up doing? You plateau. You say, I'm okay, I'm winning, I'm right here, but I don't have to get any better. As Stephen alluded to, we have people that even come to conference that says, or could have been here, that chose not to be here because they plateaued, they choose not to get better. I give it up for every one of you guys that came to conference this week because you said, I can get better. I hate losing so much, I'm going to figure out how to win. And that was Seabiscuit. He said, I'm going to start winning. And once he started winning, he turned heads. And guess what happened? America began to take notice. And they began to get excited because now we had this one guy, this one horse that we could look up to that was an underdog. How many love a good underdog? I love an underdog. My favorite football team is the Oklahoma State Cowboys, who is last place in the Big 12 right now. Like they freaking stink, right? But it don't matter. I still love them. But last year we were runner-up. So, but I like them because in Oklahoma, you're either the Oklahoma Sooners, right, who is the big dog, or you're Oklahoma State. And I've always rooted for the underdog. Seabiscuit was the underdog. Nobody wanted, they didn't think he could do it. But he started winning, and then everybody took notice. I promise you, when you guys realize what you had within you, and you grab it, and you just run with it, it's going to change your life. And people are going to see it. I like what Stephen said earlier about starting to post some numbers for these people that are really going to start digging in, because everyone around in our agency is going to say, what are they doing? What are they doing? That live transfer, that ATM thing is really working. Maybe we should plug into it. My God, they get $40,000 on a policy sale through the Shield? What the heck? What's a Shield? It's like we've been talking about over 3 months. Maybe I should dig into it a little bit. People are going to take notice. And that's what happened with him. And then they got excited, right? Because now they had him a champion that they could believe in. We got a lot of champions in this room, guys. Don't you ever let somebody tell you that you can't do it. And you know that one person that's going to tell you that the most is yourself. It's going to be yourself. If you can get past yourself, I could care less what anybody else tells me or says about me. That's the honest truth. I can think, it hurts, yeah, but I'm okay because I realize they're just people. And usually they'll hurt themselves if they wouldn't say it. But when I tell myself over and over and over again, that's the hardest one. You got to live with yourself. You can walk away from somebody else. But you've got to figure out yourself that own mindset, that you're better than that. And you can do anything you put your mind to. I'm excited as to be about Lauren because I've watched him. I know what he's capable of. Whenever I see this guy go all in like he used to do tearing vote books, brother, when that happens, you're going to lead the team. It hasn't happened yet, but it's going to. I believe in you. I used to tell my wrestlers all the time, I'd get so mad because they didn't show up for Christmas practice. I'd be like, okay, guys, you got to come to Christmas practice. We're going to do all this. And I'd be pumped up and 5 people show up. And I'd be like ready to kick them all off the team. I'd be like, okay, we're going to finish the year with 5 boys. And I'd have 25 don't show up at Christmas. I'd be so mad. But the reality was, I wanted it more than my wrestlers wanted it. I wanted it more for them. And as leaders, sometimes we feel that way, right? Stephen, you want it more for your people. The people that don't show up for these things, we were on live dials, a live Zoom. These guys should have showed up, could have showed up for this. I don't know how many watch this on Zoom right now, but you guys that are I'm proud of you. We got a lot of people. We got about 150 agents and probably 5 or 6 on Zoom. How many's on Zoom right now? Eddie?
10.
10 people. Thank you, 10, for being on. So we got 10 people on Zoom. We got about 25 in the room. You guys, that says a lot because anybody could have. You guys made a commitment. Even my commitment was nothing. It was paying for this thing, but you guys made a commitment. Somebody like Kelly who just comes out of the blue and says, what is this insurance thing? I'm going to go to fly to Oklahoma and I'm going to figure this thing out. Mariah, who says, man, I'm pretty excited about the ATM. And he said, the only way I'm going to find out about it if I get to Oklahoma, so he comes. I'm sorry I lied, but I'm glad you're here. And she comes. That's commitment. That's commitment. Eric, did your buddy ever show up that was going to be on the Greyhound? Did that one? Okay, stand up. Would you, I'm going to break the mic to this guy. Oh, my God. Great. Experience. Come on down safe, man. Everybody's got to see this. I want to hear this. We got to cut. I'll be a videos they try now, and I want everybody to see this. What's your name? Holden. I love that. Holden. Hold on, Holden. All right, Holden. Where are you from?
Iowa.
From Iowa. How'd you get here?
On a Greyhound.
Hey, guy, there's a song in there somewhere. Holden on a Greyhound bus. I'll blame now. Holden to Oklahoma on a Greyhound bus. Brother, I love you, man. You're going to do good. All right, give him a hand. Good job. Dedication right there. Freaking dedication. I don't know how I would have done that. Oh, my God. I love it, man. What a story. Holden, next year we have our big convention with 1,000 people in it. I'm getting you on stage with me. Okay, give me a goal that you want to hit next year in this business.
3 months.
And you don't have to be crazy now, brother. That's one to hit. What would change your life right now?
That's easy.
How much did you say? 30,000 a month. That live saving, you're right, $300,000 a year. Yeah, about that. Well, 360,000 a year. Crazy money. Guess what? It's doable. It's very doable. You get plugged into the right system. It's doable, right? I'm pretty sure the ATM is doable. I'm pretty sure the Shield is doable. I'm pretty sure everything that we talked about this weekend will let you get those numbers, all right? So we're proud of you guys coming out. So back to my story. I rock and roll, man. I got in the insurance. I started selling a little bit. I left that IMO, found another one. I did it for a little bit, and I wanted to get back into mortgage protection, so I went to another IMO, and the last one, I said, this is the last one I'll ever be at, and I was with them for 7 years. And I was happy, man. They took care of me, made a lot of money. I was able to retire from teaching. So I would go to this big convention in Dallas, and I was pumped up in national convention, just like this, but with about 20,000 more people. And anyway, that's a lot of people. You stand. So I go to the convention, though, and I came home, and I said, I told my wife, I said, I'm going full time at the end of this year. She's like, you're what? I'm like, yeah, baby, I have to. You know what? She did. She said, go for it, right? She believed in me. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about how important that was. She believed in me. So the next thing I do is go to a superintendent and say, listen, going full time at the end of the year, right? So you got me about 4 more months, but in May, I'm out of here, right? I had to finish out. That you would have been right. So I finished out in May, went full time, hit VP in August, 3 months after going full time. I played with that for 7 years and just stayed right where I was at level. But once I made the commitment to go full time, my whole team saw what I was doing, and guess what they started doing? Writing business. Because Coach White could do it, I could do it. And my team started growing. We were hitting $150,000 a month in production. I hit VP. And then all of a sudden, we had our grand opening in November. And I don't remember the exact date, but baby probably does. I got real sick. December the 8th, right before Christmas. And so November the 8th was when we had our convention, our grand opening.
Got sick in November.
I started getting sick in November, and in December the 18th, I'm pretty sure it was, right before Christmas.
No, it was the first week of December.
I was in the emergency room, and they didn't have room for me in the main hospital. So I stayed in the emergency room for 3 days, and feeling full of IVs and fluids. But they didn't have room for me in a big hospital, but the COVID was going on during the time, or kind of COVID, it's semi-COVID. But anyway, it ended up keeping me out of the hospital to get some help. And I stayed in the emergency room, and it made me sick of the dog. And they finally found a bed for me in a hospital in Oklahoma City. They rushed me to Oklahoma City. And that first night I was there, about midnight, 12:30 at night, I'm in a hospital bed. And my wife she's sharing the story with me later, and the alarms are going off, and the brothers and nurses are running into the room. And I tell you, this is exactly the way this happened. Nurses are running into the room. I'm in this hospital bed, and I don't know this, obviously don't know what's going on, but they start giving me chest compressions. And when this nurse that gave me chest compressions was I'd call it, how many remember the movie Uncle Buck, right? With John Candy, Uncle Buck, big old guy? This was Uncle Buck's twin brother, but bigger. And Uncle Buck's on top of me, giving me the chest compressions, breaking my wrists, but saving my life. And I don't know what's going on, but that was going on. And I'm overlooking, and this is what I saw. I'm looking down, and I see the toughest people's heads, and I see people on me giving me chest compressions. And I look across the room, and I'm looking for my wife, and I'm thinking, where's Becky? And she wasn't where I remember her being, in the couch right over here. She wasn't in there. And I go back and I look back at everybody they're doing. I hear this from one of the nurses say, round two. And they're getting these chest things clear to do the pump. And it's that quick, just like that. I raise my hand, and then I'm looking up at them, and I go, stop. And they looked, and they just started cheering and clapping. And that's the point. From that point on, it was clear as day. Everything was clear as day from that point on. I could see everything. I'm looking in their faces. I'm saying, what are y'all doing? And they're like, you just passed away. We're giving you chest. And they're trying to tell me we resuscitating all this. And they're moving me to a different hospital bed, and they rushed me out to put me into the intensive care, I guess, what they call it. And they take me by my wife, rolling me by her, and she's like, Darren, what you do? What's going on? She's like, I'm looking on, baby, it's okay, don't worry about it. And she's like, even for her sake. They'd already told Becky to call somebody in and come get her, help her. That was the hardest. It wasn't for me. I'm been all right. It would go to heaven. I was sure I was going to be okay. I didn't want to leave her. And I sure didn't, and it broke my heart to see her crying. And I began to think, at that point, I'm not ready to leave my wife. And I've got so much more I need to do. I've got to take care of my baby. And so no matter what I do in this life, I'm going to make sure that I'm going to start taking care of myself. Because as the old wrestling coach, I was mean and grizzled, and I didn't take care of my body like I needed to. Then I let it get bad, and I didn't even think about it. I always said I was too tough for this. But I wasn't. Life had a way of humbling you. The boy would die humble. So I started taking care of myself after that, but something happened. The next day when I wake up, the nurse walks into the room, and the doctor, and we said, what happened last night? They said, well, we thought that you what do they call it when, anyway, the red line or whatever, you passed away, and we were trying to, they said, but we ran those tests on you because immediately after it happened, we're in the room, they came back and they ran tests on me, right? And they're just checking everything. And they said, we know where the results. And evidently, the alarms went off. There was a mistake of the alarm system or whatever. They said it should never went off. We don't think that anything actually happened to you, that we gave you those compressions because all your numbers were elevated. They weren't elevated. They were like nothing had ever happened. Your enzyme levels and all the stuff, they said everything was normal. And I began to think about that, and I said, man, when God does something, he does it right? He gave me a second chance in this life. And they can say their machines messed up, but I know this. I had a couple broken ribs to prove that something happened. And not only that, so when they did the chest compression, this young buck on there giving me chest compression, my eyes had burst, both of them. He busted blood vessels on both sets of my eyes, and I couldn't see but just a few feet the next morning in front of me. And I just thought, well, this will go away to get better. But really, it didn't get better for a long time. I was blind. I could see about 2 foot in front of me, but that was about it. And so we go home. Becky's having to take care of me. And this is humbling. God, this is his old wrestling coach that could have never, the guy that broke bricks and bit steel and beat the state champions in the wrestling room every day. And this is that guy that's having to let his wife take care of him. And I'm like, this wasn't easy. Now it came time for me to start selling because I had to make money because I quit my job. 23 years as an educator, and now I relied on the insurance to make my money. And what am I going to do? And then guess what happened to my agents? They quit selling for the most part because Coach White's some selling. Sad but true. So what do? And it went over, and I kind of thought, you know what? I can't see a computer, but I can sure talk to people. So I got on the phone, and I went on a hiring crusade. In the next 40 days, I hired 40 agents, and I started training them. And I trained 40 agents, and I started having decent overrides and making some money off those guys, and do it well enough to get by. And then I just started praying all the time and to thank God, you got to give my vision. And day by day, it got better and better and better. And then it got really, really good. Like almost probably better than prior to, right? Brought my vision back. So I began to do really well. Started going back on the road and driving around and doing mortgage protection. I did a lot of mortgage protection. So what I would do, we call it mortgage elimination now. I could get rid of the mortgage, not protect it. And so I started doing mortgage elimination, and I doubled down on myself. I said, I want every person in the state of Oklahoma that buys a home or refinances, I want them to get 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 of my cards. So every person in the state of Oklahoma that bought a new home or refinance, they got 3 of my cards. And sometimes they filled out all 3. Guess what it cost me? About $250 for that one house. And I'd call them up. I'd say, hey, this is Darren over here at the Heartland Mortgage Protection. And they were like, oh, I'm sorry, we just bought a policy. I'm like, oh, are you kidding me? I'm like, ah. So anyway, those were cheap leads. But I started doing it, and I started making really good money. And I've been doing very well with mortgage protection again. And then as I'm going, my eyes had come and going, and Becky, they started to get a little bit worse, and Becky was just like, I don't know if I really want you driving as much. And I said, dude, you're probably right, because I'm on the road all the time. So I said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try telesales. And I started working with a veteran campaign. I worked in a veteran market and on Facebook campaigns. And I started doing pretty good, and I'd get better, and I believe in myself. And then me and Tricia started building it out, and we developed something called Veterans First. And Veterans First was a campaign that we developed a veteran advocacy program out of it. So now not only did we sell the veteran the life insurance policy, but we become your veteran advocate. We help you get things ready for whenever you pass away, your family will be taken care of and all your wishes taken care of. So we did a lot of stuff. So you don't do anything halfway. There were a lot of people doing veterans policies. We didn't want to be just another veteran company. So I said, how can we be the best veteran company? And Veterans First became the company out there. We were proud of what we were doing and making a lot of money. When I went, they just announced the cruise is going to be coming up, and if you do 100,000 in 3 months, you win a cruise. And I was pretty pumped. Had a pretty good month of July. At the end of July, my left eye was kind of bad. My right eye was really good. I could see it probably almost 20, 30 minutes, pretty good out of it. And but I'd been working on the computer so much and straining my right eye. I woke up one morning and I couldn't see out of either eye. They both had hemorrhaged on me. My right eye had hemorrhaged. And it was back to square one again. I was back to where I was from the beginning. And I'm like, I am so done. Oh my God, what do I do? I'm so done. I get on these highs and all of a sudden, boom, you get hit right in the gut. And I was like, what am I going to do with this? And I moped and I felt sorry for 3 days. And my wife walks in there. And she had seen me a few days earlier in what I was kind of going through, and she went in there without me knowing it and ordered me a great big, I wish I brought that, I actually forgot it, a huge keyboard for my computer. It's about this big, and then no letter about that big, and it looked like it's something a kindergarten kid would use. And I still have it at home. I don't even use it anymore, but I still have it. And she brought that keyboard, and she brought me a magnifying glass. And she said these famous words. I said, I'm going to get a T-shirt. And she said, throw this up down. I said, suck it up, Buttercup. Suck it up, Buttercup. Wow. Did I need that? Did I need that? How many of you, if you don't have a good wife, you better go get one. I mean, get the right one. 37 years, baby, and I loved every minute of it. And there was times you drove me crazy, and I know I did you, and that suck it up Buttercup got all over me. But I'm going to tell you what I needed. Sometimes we need that person to give you a good swift kick in the pants. Say, get up. Quit feeling sorry for yourself. Get up. So what? You had a bad day. So what? You be like Bob, he lost both his legs, and he gets up every day to go to work. Guys, we got people like Marcos Bustos. You heard his story. Incredible. He gets up and goes to work. We all have stuff. Mine was just stuff. So what? I couldn't see. I figured out a way. So here's what I did. Suck it up, Buttercup. And I went upstairs, and it went all over me. And you know what really got me the most? And the fact is that I knew Becky was starting to get scared. Because you wouldn't do that unless, and she was worried about everything and worried about bills. Because she paid the bill, it's not me. You know, like literally broke the check. And I knew then that she wouldn't have done that if she wasn't scared. And it just broke me. And I said, God, what am I going to do? And he said, dump down. So I did. I dumped down, I bet on white. I told this story. They sent me to Las Vegas after I did this, and they had me go out there and shared this story in front of about 3,000 people. And I was in Vegas, so I said, so what do? I bet on white. Well, my last name was White, all right? So Darren White, all these people didn't realize that. They were like, oh, he's racist. I'm like, no, I mean, literally, my last name White. I bet on myself. So I put everything on myself, right? And I doubled down. So I'd been spending about $1,200 in leads a week. I went down and I said, I'm going to spend $2,400 this week. And I put down $2,400 in leads. The very next morning, I get up, and I did a practice app first. Before I did a practice app. I said, hey, I can type. I can see this. And this keyboard works, you know. So I ordered $2,400 in leads. And my wife didn't know that. Everybody freaked her out, but I did. I doubled down on myself. And the next morning I get up and guess what I did? I sold my first policy at 8:15 that morning. My very first phone call. And I made about $950. And I said, woo, you know what? It was like a weight lifted off. Because once you do your first one, the rest is gravy. I always tell my agents, if you just sell one a day, keep the doctor away. Because one policy a day is about $30,000 a month. That's life changing. And if the earlier year one policy, so the rest of the day breeze, right? Because you've already done your one, now everything else is just going to be gravy. Just pour it on, man. So my first one at about 8:15, my second one at about 9 o'clock. My second call, I made another sell. I'm cruising. And it went like that for 5 policies, so that very first day. By the end of the week, I made $25,000 that week. 25 grand. I'd never done that in my life. They heard about it, and one of the leaders, the biggest leader in the whole company, called me up and he said, can you talk on our podcast? And I said, sure. And I get on their podcast. And the story was, if a blind man could write $25,000 in a week, what's your excuse, right? And they promoted that story all over the place. And so I go out there, and then they put me on their YouTube thing and said, dead man walking, right? But they heard my story then, really how it was. But that was my story, and I'm sticking with it, right? And so I wrote $100,000 in 10 weeks. Don't let anything tell you can't do it. I don't care what your story is. I don't care what your situation is. I don't care how bad it is. Find a way. Believe in yourself. Believe in what you're doing. And give it 100%. No matter where you are, you go 100%. Always. Nothing less is acceptable. Pour your heart into it. And that's what I did. So I win the cruise. My wife and I go on the cruise. My eyes are getting better, and I'm doing good. And we're going on the cruise. We're pumped. And I told her, we're going to start a new IMO. And she's like, you're what? And I'm like, yeah, we are. And God had already given me the name. It's going to be Agents First. And she didn't understand that. I explained this earlier. We're going to do it now, some catch-all video. I said, it could be Agents First. And she's like, I don't like that name. I said, why not? Why don't you like it? She said, how are you going to tell a client that you're putting the agents first? I said, it's not like that. I said, we're going to take care of our agents. So our agents could call themselves First Financial or Claim or the firms and all the different agencies you want to call it. You could say, hey, I'm with Thornburg Financial. You're not going to say I'm with Agents First. Agents First is going to be nothing more than a platform for agents to succeed. I said, but think of it like this. When your plane goes down and loses cabin pressure, the mask will fall down. The first thing you want to do is what? You put that mask over yourself, because you've got to save yourself before you save everybody else. We were losing in this industry. You guys have all heard it. You call it the 8% club, right? The 8% club. What did that mean? 8% of all life insurance agents are successful and make it. But what happens to the 92%ers? And Stephen, you know as well as I do, they used to say, focus on your 8%ers, because the other guys are probably not going to make it anyway. And we put our attention on those guys, and I said, no, we're not going to do that anymore. We're not going to take it. We're not going to take it anymore. We're not going to have an IMO that focuses on the 8%er, because they're going to make it regardless. How about being creative? How about having an IMO that cares about the 92%ers, that finds a way to save them? I might not can save them all, because guess what? Not everybody is meant to be a life insurance agent. Some people need a 9-to-5 job. They need to have somebody to report to. It's not easy to be your own boss. It's like Steven said, you find it, you clean the garage, you had to clean your eyes, right? We've all been there. Sometimes it's hard being your own boss. But once you realize this is your business, you should work harder at that than you ever have anything in your life. You should be put 12, 15 hours a day, because it is your business. And because you're trying to create time, and you're trying to create wealth for your family. So you don't have to work that many hours next year and the year after. So that your family cannot struggle the way you struggle. So that your grandkids who look at you and says, Papa Stephen did this for me one day. I remember, hey, Papa Stephen, tell me about that. you know? And it's going to be incredible. The stories that we're going to be able to share, and our grandkids are going to talk about how one day that Kelly grandkids are going to say, you know, there's this lady called Jody that called her one day out of the blue, and she got on a plane and flew to Oklahoma. And look what happened. Generational wealth is what we're talking about. Agents First is all about creating winners, no matter what it takes. It's about creating winners by getting in partnerships with people like The Shield, people like John and Victor, Nick, people like Unreal Media, that for no reason, that I don't care, you could, you know, maybe Chase is not the Christian person that think I am or different, and sometimes it takes different people, but I believe God moves on everybody. And he can speak even to the devil and say, you know, like you're gonna, you know, like move through people. I remember there was a joke, something like that, about the lady was praying for God to send her groceries, right? She didn't have any groceries, and she prayed every day for groceries, and finally these kids had heard her praying for it, and they said, "Let's go." They went and got groceries from her house and put it on the front porch, and she came out there and started saying, "Thank you, Jesus," and for the groceries. Then they jumped up on the bush and says, "It wasn't Jesus, it was us." And she said, "The devil delivered it, but God sent it." And you know, so I don't know how this happened with Unreal, but I do know this: it's going to be game changing, and God has ordained this sake. And I love Chase. I'm just giving you a hard time about that, but if he's on your listening, I love you, brother. And and all the people. Talking about Liam, I didn't mean to leave you out. These are Liam too. Obviously, I've been saying about the Shield, and about, we're about to get in for you guys don't know the vertical that we're about to go into, but we're going to be brokering and working a deal with Liam, and he's going to be working with some annuity stuff, and the partnership that God had brought us together with William and George and their team. It's all just a partnership that we are so excited about. Like, don't even get me started. I can't even, the ATM thing, guys, if you think the ATM thing is going to change your life, give me a hand clap. Let's hear about what you think about the ATM. It is going to be next level for our company. And I was woke up in the middle of the night and we laid out. I told Cody that day, she said, "How can you do it?" And I said, it was either God or the bad Chinese food I had that night or something, because I was in the middle of the night and I'm like, these numbers going over my head. And I couldn't sleep, so I had to go up to my office. I started writing down the numbers. And the more I wrote, the more excited I got. And this was about 2:30 at night, and I don't think I went to bed that night. I tried, but I couldn't sleep because I began to see this is real. We finally figured out a way to save every agent if they choose to. They have to work. But it's a way, because what's the number one reason why agents don't make it, JP?
They don't buy enough leads
They don't buy enough leads. So why do they not buy leads?
because they're afraid that they won't make their money back.
Or they don't have the money to do it.
Yeah.
They're afraid, or they don't have it. Because who wants to give up your last $200? And most of them don't have $200. Why do you think they got their license and got insurance in the first place? Because they wanted a way out. But they need a way up before you get a way out. Guess what we created here? It's an opportunity that was ordained and put together. And now we have a way to help every agent out. And there's no excuses anymore for anybody. We've got the VCC. We've got our 4 days a week trainings. We've got great mentorship. We've got a ATM machine that produces money, sells, and we talk about money, but guys, the truth is, it has to always be about the client. The money it comes with. But we all know the money changes lives, and it gives us opportunity to give. Why did I get the insurance business? I told you earlier, because I wanted to give to the ministry, and I couldn't do it. My wife wrote a check for $1,000 to go to Pastor Jeff for speaking. I'm like, I couldn't have done that. I couldn't give $100 anything. She went there, wrote him a check for $1,000, never blinked an eye, just for him speaking 15 minutes at our conference. What a blessing. I couldn't have done that as a school teacher. Are you kidding me? God has been good, guys. And that's about all I'm going to say. I talked long enough. I just want you to know, believe in yourself. Find the inner sea biscuit within you. And believe in yourself. Because if you believe in yourself, no one else is going to believe in you until you believe in yourself. But once you believe in yourself, it's game changing. Game on, guys. Love you guys. Thank